Welcome back, nerds. Today we are painting Eternia's greatest hero. The most powerful man in the universe and positive role model for children of all ages. What? But we discussed this. You even made a Trello card. This is bullshit. I did all this research and then you just go and do... No, I will not calm down. I'm not gonna go research stupid TRAPJAW now. No one gives a shit about this motherfucking dipshit cyborg Frankenstein. God. You know what? You could have at least painted Triclops, or Ram Man. Everybody loves Ram Man. But you chose fucking TRAPJAW. What the f is wrong with you? No one is gonna wanna watch you paint this fucking stupid-ass character. Like, what am I gonna say about him? Ooh, look, his body is blue and his head is green. Isn't that neat? Oh, and check out his arm. It can change into whatever the writers need to move the plot along. F me, dude. God, I hate you. In the spirit of cooperation, Chris and I have set aside our differences to get this video done before the new movie comes out. Oh yeah, that's right, nerds. They finally made a He-Man movie. Fuck, I can't wait. As you can see, Chris is pointlessly applying a zenithal to the parts of Mr. Jaw that have exposed skin. But he'll say he's doing this to check the volumes and make sure there's no visible layer lines or some flaw that he needs to resand. But who cares? Have you guys seen that trailer?
Dolph Lundgren is He-Man, Frank Langella is Skeletor, and Meg Foster is Evil Lynn. Masters of the Universe.
Wow, it's gonna be so good. Anyway, Chris is gonna be using a bunch of these Kaleido paints for this Mr. Trapdoll. Starting with this matte blue, Chris will essentially paint over his entire zenithal. This will become the new darkest value of the blue parts of his skin. Now, before we add the highlight, Chris wants to get fancy with the fanciest paint in the universe, Jorkish Vermis. You see, intergalactic Frankenstein just got out of surgery, and Chris wants to call attention to the Eternian healthcare system. So, as an initial step to grossifying this wound, he's gonna highlight the closure using a different hue before applying the following light blue highlight to the skin, which will soften it. Always apply thine highlights from the top down, blending it across horizontal surfaces, but focusing primarily on the upward-facing surfaces. You definitely don't want this in the shadowed areas unless you want it to suck. If that's what you're going for, then please continue. You're doing a great job. All right, a dark purple such as this can only mean one thing. Chris is gonna paint the face green. And first, he needs to add a subtle contrasting undertone to the shadowed areas. But Chris, isn't red the direct contrasting color for green? Yes, it is, nerds, but purple and orange serve as split complementary contrasts that offer a more sophisticated alternative to the starkness of red and green. Speaking of green, now dilute any mid-value green and cover the whole face. Try to preserve a smidge of that purple undertone. Then with something brighter like this toxic yellow, apply the highlights on the upward-facing surfaces. No need to get crazy here. We can come back and dry brush more pronounced highlights later. Perfect. Now it's time to paint the base. First, Chris will mix matte black and matte purple from the Kaleido primary color set to create a pretty dark purple. Then he will lightly paint all the upward-facing surfaces. Don't get carried away here. We're just trying to lightly tint the black. And only on the top. We actually want to keep all those blacks on the undersides. Then we're going to mix magenta with that previous purple. Chris is going to really dilute this. Then, same as before, we're tinting the upward-facing surfaces, but surgically only on the highest points in a couple spots, for subtle tonal variety. All right, now that this motherfucker is dry, we've got a decorative corpse to paint. Starting with beastly brown, Chris will crudely base coat it. Doing a shit job here is actually ideal. It's like doing the weathering first, a methodology considered degenerate by the Toledo Painters Guild. Don't take your time here, for the following dry brush passes will reward your laziness. Ah yes, thick superglue. Some say it's the most powerful glue in the universe. Once these remains are firmly in place, we can continue desecrating them with buff, the most stupidest named paint in the universe. Despite its name, it's actually really versatile. With a really dry brush, just lightly apply this to the carcass using random strokes. Start at the highest points and feather it down into the shadowed undersides. What is this? Bar all crimson. Whatever it is, we're going to use it to dry brush the rocks. With Chris's wife's makeup brush. Now, just like with the corpse we defiled, take your mostly dry brush and brush it across all the edges and details of the rocks. You can go pretty aggressive here. We're going to follow this up with an even lighter pass in key areas in a moment to make them pop, as they say in the business. Once you're happy with that, grab your bottle of Athena Skin, which is just a lighter version of Orcish Dermis, and repeat the process, but be a little more judicious, only applying it to the highest spots. Then finally, harnessing the power of Tamiya Panel Liner, Chris is going to reintroduce some contrast into a few of the recesses. This stuff dries glossy, so once you're happy with it, give the whole base a matte clear top coat. And just like that, the base is done.
Shelf candy!
Hear me, nerds. More than half of TRAPJAW is composed of robot or metal or some shit. Therefore, Chris will employ unorthodox techniques to make those parts appear as such. Dark, profane techniques forgotten to the annals of time, applied directly to the primer. He will cast the first spell upon this sledge blade thing, sanctifying it with a dry brush pass of gunmetal. Get a little on your brush, remove nearly all of it, then lightly apply it to the surface, focusing primarily on the raised edges. Continue this process on all the other parts, for this is merely the first arcane step in this heretical process. Once you are pleased with yourself, prepare your body and spirit for step 2. Chris is now employing the power of rust washes. He'll just apply these in the recesses, and don't let the name fool you. In the painting world, washes are used to make things look shittier, which makes perfect sense if you don't think about it. Anyway, it's easy to get carried away here, and you don't need this in every recess. Start with your darkest wash, let it dry, then come back and add more if it's too subtle. Then switch to your lighter wash, and more sparingly add this to the same areas, but where you would imagine the rust would be most pronounced. Like low spots, where water, or whatever the Eternian equivalent to water is, would naturally collect. Step 3 requires the most silliest putty in the universe. You see, Chris wants to lean into the Homer-mobile nature of this dumb character, so he's gonna mask a few areas to introduce a couple more types of metal. Precision is important here, so don't be ashamed to bust out a toothpick. Step 4, Kaleido Copper, which isn't really copper at all, but whatever it's trying to be is perfect for this application. Step 5, this AK pale burnt metal is perfect to add yet another unnecessary metal accent. Put some here, and then here, and here too. Ooh, and that one, oh yeah, get that one again. Step 6, remove all the putty and pat yourself on the back, even though the putty did all the work. Powerful magic indeed. And just like that, you're ready to keep working on them. Now it's time for step 7. Again, using this Kaleido Matte Black, Chris must clean up the overspray, and by doing so, create yet another superfluous material accent. No dry brushing or weathering, just black. It's the type of free detail that makes Glenn lose his goddamn mind. So take your time here and savor it. And when the Lord's work is done, you can move on to step 8, good old Tamiya panel liner, to boost the contrast in all these circuity, hosey little recesses and stuff. And while Chris does this boring yet necessary step, let us pay tribute to the most powerful heroes in the universe. Bow your heads. You too could be counted amongst our legion of brave, gorgeous, well-informed genius warriors who've already pledged their undying support to our righteous cause, the complete and utter destruction of the Toledo Painters Guild. Make your voice heard. Follow that link. See it? It's right there. It couldn't be any easier to make a difference in the world.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. I didn't do fucking shit!
I hope you've been writing this down. We're on step 9. See these little raised orb things? Well, Chris is going to get those ready to look like some kind of light/energy source, starting with white. The trick here is you want to paint them. To do that, it's preferable to apply said paint with a paintbrush. Then, while that dries, we can move on to step 10, tinny tin. Using this sparingly, just pop out a few more accents. We're just killing time before we finish the glowy orb things, which will be step 11 if you're keeping track. Ah yes, Tesseract glow. A light coat of this over everything we previously painted white, then we can move on to step 13, which will give these a little more depth. By harnessing the power of warp lightning, Chris will simply paint around the edges of these orb things. Just a thin bead is all that's needed. Then finally, step 14, the coup de grace. Chris will take this chrome ink and bend it to his will by emblazoning it upon an unassuming toothpick, which he will then rake across the edges he imagines would catch light. And now the legs are done. Now it's time for the waistcoat. Starting with the same gunmetal we used on the legs, Chris will apply the same multi-step treatment to TRAPJAW's rodeo belt. It'll get the rust, the tin and the chrome. But you don't need to see all that crap again. Let's skip ahead to these large flaps of what appear to be beef jerky. Enlisting the services of Sigor Brown, Chris will completely cover each slab of dried beef as well as TRAPJAW's diaper. Once this is coated, he will set it aside to dry while he prepares to paint the helmet. Starting with black, Chris will paint the inner edge of the helmet along the face. Doing this now prevents potential oopsies after the helmet is painted. You see, after this, Chris will mask up into the black undersides, then paint the whole helmet black, which will create a seamless surface, removing all chance of a thin green line to fight with later. It's called planning ahead, Glenn. You punk bitch. But before that, it appears we are switching back to the waistcoat, which Chris will dry brush with base flesh, before finishing it by highlighting the frayed edges with Iraqi sand. This is a great time to point out that you still haven't subscribed or liked this video yet, and it's almost over, so you should probably get on that.
Would you mind? And you'll do it.
Now we're going to finish this wound. You thought we forgot, and we almost did. That kind of thing happens when you don't have enough subscribers, so it's really kinda your fault. But Chris won't hold it against you. He'll just keep mindlessly applying pin washes of various wound colors to this gash as though you actually did subscribe. Then, abusing his powers over time and space, Chris will leap forward to a time after he painted TRAPJAW's belt collection. So he can then use Deck-Tan to painstakingly paint each stitch, before finally applying another pin wash of dried blood over the stitches to bring the level of hygiene in line with the rest of TRAPJAW's parts. The goal here is to knock back the brightness of the deck tan while allowing the pin wash to flood into the creases between the stitch and the skin. This wash is about as thin as a glaze because Chris wants to preserve some of the lighter, fleshy tones around the edge of the wound itself. So he's approaching it as a glaze, but a very targeted one, meaning he will do multiple passes until he just can't take it anymore. I'll save you from having to watch him finish the belt collection since it was the same process as the beef jerky waistcoat. Now, can we please get back to the head and wrap this damn thing up? Finally, if you remember, we prepped the helmet edges with black before masking it. Now Chris is gonna unify that surface, thus sidestepping any annoying touch-ups later. With that done, we can apply white from the top down. We are using red after all, so you're gonna want a light surface for that. But if you're some kind of asshole, I encourage you to paint the red over the black. It's the best way. Now for the red, just get good solid coverage, especially in all the little creases and such. Unless you're an asshole. In your case, hold the airbrush very close and go as heavy and slow as possible. It's the best way. Now if you find the red is a little too vibrant for your liking, you can subdue it with something like this Blood Angels red. For assholes, well, you should use teal. It's the best way. Now you should remove the silly putty. Don't even worry, it'll be perfect, because it always is. Well, would you look at that, Glenn? Fuck you. Now with this Nuln Oil, Chris is gonna cruddy up this helmet. It's too clean at the moment. It's worth noting that removing the silly putty before this was intentional. The last thing you want is this runny wash seeping under the putty, drying onto the face. So move quickly and be careful around the edges. Unless you're an asshole, in which case just overload your brush and do this step with your eyes closed. It's the best way. Okay, nerds, we're on the home stretch. Starting with some black, Chris is gonna quickly base TRAPJAW's saw blade mohawk thing. It needs to be gunmetal, so naturally, we're gonna dry brush that on now. Chris is also gonna hit several of the edges of the red parts of the helmet too, to simulate some wear and tear. Once that looks adequately old and busted, we can finally move on to the portrait, starting with Skeleton Horde. We're just gonna pin wash this into several of the wrinkles and recesses, just to add some sickly variation to the skin. Then, that's right, nerds, deck tan for the teeth and eyeballs. Chris recommends painting each tooth individually. Now a little Imperial Fist yellow for the eyes, before grossing up these teeth with some more Skeleton Horde. But just in between them and up top by the gums. Then, with some diluted Blood Angels red, he's gonna paint along the inner edge of the eyeballs, before adding black pupils, tiny white highlights, and finally gloss coating the peepers and the teethers. All right, guys, I think it's done. Behold. All right, I'm gonna go now. Subscribe. Fuckers!
How do you feel about Christopher?
I'm pretty excited for the show to come to a close, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.